let's predict the champions of 2024. So by the end of the year, who's going to be champion of every single division? Last year was very unexpected with the champions that we got. Almost every belt changed hands into very unexpected challengers, like Sean Strickland, like Sean O'Malley, Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira, Alexa Grasso, Nunes retired. There was a load of stuff that happened in 2023 that was super unpredictable. And now let's try to predict this year. So for the heavyweight division, we have 2 champions, but we're going to predict the undisputed champ. Jon Jones is right now the undisputed champ. Aspinall is the interim champ. Who are the fighters that are in the title picture? There's Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, Jailton Almeida, and we do know the landscape there. Jon Jones is going to fight Stipe. He's most likely going to win. How many title defenses is he going to have this year? Probably 1. So Jones should end the year as champ just because he's only going to fight Stipe most likely, but there is a chance he retires and vacates the belt. So Jones is not going to lose his belt other than retirement, most likely, right? So I think Jon Jones has the highest chance of ending this year as the undisputed champ. But then there's Tom Aspinall. I give Tom Aspinall the second place. I think he's going to fight probably more than Jones will this year, but at least one time, and I think he will most likely win that fight if it's against Ciryl Gane, if it's against the winner of Curtis Blaydes and Jailton Almeida. Curtis Blaydes could be a very difficult fight, but I do favor Aspinall in every single one of these fights. I believe he's probably the best heavyweight on the planet right now, and one of the best pound-for-pound heavyweights. Remember, pound for pound is about skills, not about achievements. So I'm going to put Tom Aspinall in the second place, and everybody else falls in order after that. I think Jones and Aspinall are the 2 main guys that are going to end the year as champ. For the light heavyweight division, right now we have Alex Pereira as the champion, and the fighters that are in the title picture are obviously Magomed Ankalaev and Jamal Hill. And we have to think, how many times is that belt going to get defended this year? I'm guessing twice, right? There's 2 chances for Pereira to lose that belt, other than some kind of freak injury. He's already talking about how he's going to fight both Ankalaev and Hill back to back, right? That's his plan, to have 2 title fights in a week. If he got his way and he won both of those fights, as unlikely as that is, he is probably going to have another title defense later in the year. So there is a possibility there's like 3 title defenses this year at light heavyweight, but I'm guessing 2. I think Magomed Ankalaev has the best chance of ending the year as champ. I think he has the wrestling threat. He's like the only guy that could shoot a double leg. He's a good striker, very good counter puncher. Would probably lose on the feet against Pereira, but he could also hit Pereira with some good shots too. And he has that wrestling to go to. So therefore, I do have Ankalaev ending the year as champ whenever he fights Alex Pereira. And then second place, I have Pereira. And then I would have Jamal Hill in third place. Mostly because he's coming off that big injury and he's had such a long layoff, right? If he loses that one fight back and his return fight is most likely going to be for the title, he's going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. For the middleweight division, right now the champion is Dricus Du Plessis, who just got his belt. I've been saying it for a long time, Dricus is probably the most well-rounded guy in this weight class. He has been for a very long time. Because of that and how he's so big and physically strong, also showing to have 5-round cardio, he's going to be a difficult task for literally anybody he fights. There's nobody that makes an easy fight out of Dricus right now, which is always going to give him a relatively high chance compared to the other middleweights in the title picture of ending the year as champ. But who are those middleweights? Who are the 5 middleweights in the title picture right now? You have Dricus, Strickland, Izzy, Khamzat, and Cannonier. Even though Khamzat should not be in the title picture right now, and neither should Izzy, we do know that they are. For monetary reasons, for business reasons, they're going to be right there in the title picture. The real guys that deserve it are Dricus, Strickland, and Cannonier, right? Those are the real fighters that are in the title picture right now, but these 5 seem to be in the same group. And I would have to say Dricus has the best chance of ending the year as champ. Right, I think Dricus, Strickland, and Khamzat are very close to being even. He's the most well-rounded guy. He could do pretty much everything. He's strong, he's tough, he has a good chin, he has power, he has a good reach. And then in second, I would say Khamzat and Strickland are about tied. So Khamzat has the wrestling and the grappling to trump over pretty much anybody else in this weight class, especially in the early rounds. And if he could get his cardio intact, if he can understand how to pace himself in those early rounds, his chances go up even higher, right? The biggest adjustment to Khamzat is just pacing himself. If he could do that, his chances skyrocket to become champ and hold that belt against pretty much anybody else. Barely anybody can wrestle in this weight class, and Khamzat is a very good wrestler. He also has respectable power to hurt any of these guys. I think Strickland has demonstrated his ability to defend takedowns and probably even more impressively get up from the bottom if he gets taken to the ground. Even against one of the strongest guys in this weight class, Dricus Du Plessis, Strickland was able to easily get his way back up, and in the later rounds was able to stuff the takedowns. He has the best boxing in the weight class. He has the best defense in the weight class. His biggest hole has been fixed. He has patched that up. The leg kick defense is now not a problem for him, and that's only going to make him a harder fight moving forward. The only thing that is going against Strickland is his ability to finish fighters. Right, he hits them a lot, but he always runs the risk of getting knocked out, even if he is starting to win the fight. And the power punchers are always going to give him some sort of an issue, just like Dricus did, just like Cannonier did in the past, just like Pereira did and Usman did back in the welterweight division. But I do hold Strickland at third place. I think his abilities are around Dricus's and Khamzat's overall. Fourth place, I have Israel Adesanya. The reason why I have Israel Adesanya is nobody else can strike with him besides Strickland. Dricus cannot strike with him. Khamzat cannot strike with him. Whitaker loses the strike into Izzy, and so does Cannonier, as we already saw. He has pretty good takedown defense against the cage, so he has something to work with there. He's an intelligent fighter as well. He has incredible attributes, and depending on who he's going up against, his chances are going to change. You know, whether they're a strong wrestler like Khamzat, his chances are probably going to be lower. A guy who can wrestle but opens himself up to counter shots like Dricus, Izzy has a higher chance of beating someone like that. And then in fifth place, I have Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier is also kind of similar in that aspect. Like if he fights Izzy, right, if Izzy somehow gets that belt, Cannonier is going to have a hard time winning that belt, and he's coming off an injury as well, so he's going to be at a disadvantage in his next fight. But he could potentially outstrike Khamzat, Dricus, and Strickland just because of his power punching style. He is getting much better. He's much more technical than ever before. He has a very good chin, and he's very physically strong. Against Izzy, his chances will get lower. If it's against Strickland, his chance is going to be somewhat even, I think. With Dricus, I think his chances are also somewhat even. With Khamzat, it's going to be difficult with that wrestling. But hopefully Khamzat would gas out for Cannonier's sake. Then we go to the welterweight division. The current champ right now is Leon Edwards, and there's not a lot of fighters in title picture right now. We know there's Shavkat Rakhmonov, Belal Muhammad, and potentially Islam Makhachev could fight for the belt this year too. Leon is talking about that he wants to be an active champion, and how many times will that belt get defended this year? I'm guessing about twice if he is going to be on UFC 300, or if he goes and fights in the summer, in June, against potentially Islam Makhachev or Belal Muhammad, because we do know that they want something big for that Saudi Arabia card, and Islam has been talking about fighting in June for a while, and Belal Muhammad could potentially fight there as well. So I'm guessing the belt will be defended twice this year. And I have a tie for the number one spot. So Leon is either going to fight Islam or Belal next. Belal is the number one contender. Islam for monetary reasons, business reasons in Saudi Arabia. And things can really play out in completely different ways. Now, I'm guessing the more likely challenger is probably going to be Belal Muhammad. So I think Leon would get past Belal and then fight one more time later this year, probably in December or something like that. And it's probably going to be against Shavkat Rakhmonov. So I have a tie for first place on who ends the year as the welterweight champ. I have both Shavkat and Leon Edwards evenly to end the year as champ. I think both fighters are more capable than anybody else in this weight class right now, or at least in the top 5. I think both these fighters are more capable than Belal Muhammad for winning the belt and or holding the belt until the end of the year. And I think a fight between Shavkat and Leon would be quite competitive. So therefore, I have both of them equal. Third place, I actually have Islam Makhachev, just for the prospect that he's probably going to fight for the welterweight belt this year at some point. If he doesn't fight for it this year, he's going to fight for it next year. Whether he deserves it or not, it doesn't even matter. They're going to give him that opportunity. And I think he has a higher chance of ending the year as champ than Belal Muhammad. And in fourth place, I have Belal. So then we go to the lightweight division, which the champion is Islam Makhachev. And he was looking to defend the belt 3 times this year, but it looks like it's going to happen twice, or maybe even once, right? If he jumps up to welterweight, he's only going to defend his belt 1 time. And the fighters that are in the title picture right now are Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan, and Justin Gaethje. There is a potential Max Holloway if he beats Gaethje. And right away, we can all agree Islam Makhachev has by far the highest chance of ending the year as champ. He's the best fighter of the bunch. So the number 1 contender is going to be either Oliveira or Arman. And then after that, it's going to be Gaethje or Max. So I'm going to put Oliveira at number 2. I put Arman Tsarukyan at number 3. I think his wrestling technique and just grappling overall is enough to compete with Islam more than someone like Justin Gaethje or Max Holloway. He also has a lot of power in his hands. He's very fast in the stand-up, is pacing himself better. He already has experience fighting Islam. He just has to get past Oliveira first, which is a very dangerous fight. And I think a fight with Islam will still be a very competitive one. I put Justin Gaethje at number 4. He has a striking that could be problematic for Islam, but he has no grappling defense whatsoever in that department, and that's why I think he has a lower chance than the others. And then Max Holloway I would have in 5th place, just being smaller. He's been taken down quite a bit by featherweights, and I can only imagine if Islam got his hands on him, and he just doesn't have that kind of power to threaten Islam the way that Gaethje or Oliveira or Arman can. Then we go to the featherweight division, and the champion right now is Alexandre Volkanovski, who's been a dominant champ, still holding that belt, but he is going to fight next month. The biggest thing going against Volk is his age, and the fact that he's coming off a knockout loss on top of that, right? It's hard to hold that belt when you're in your mid-30s. I don't think there's a challenger afterward that's going to be as difficult as Topuria. And honestly, there's only 3 fighters in the title picture. There's Volkanovski, Topuria, Max Holloway. There's nobody else right now. I mean, potentially Movsar Evloev, but he needs another win. And honestly, I'm giving both Volkanovski and Topuria around an even chance of ending the year as champ. I think Topuria has the youth, he has the power, he has a good style to compete with Volkanovski. He's very good on the ground, very well-rounded. He's only getting better every time we see him. He's going to be even better when he fights Volk. There's a possibility Volk could be a little bit on a decline against Topuria. There's no evidence in that, but it is a theory that is quite probable, as we've seen that happen in the past with older fighters that have gotten knocked out many times. So I give both Volk and Topuria an equal chance, and then afterward I have Max Holloway. I think it could be an issue for Topuria, right? Volk has Max's number, but Max might be a problem for Topuria, and that's where that 20% chance comes into play. Now, bantamweight is going to be a tough one. I would say middleweight and bantamweight are the most competitive divisions right now, with the champ being Sean O'Malley. Nobody thought this guy was going to win the belt. It's very difficult to see him ending the year as champ. I mean, just given his skill set. He showed some good takedown defense against Aljamain Sterling, especially due to his footwork, but even on the fence as well. So we have to think how many times he's going to defend the belt this year. It's either going to be twice or 3 times. So he's going to fight in March, which makes Chito also in the title picture too. He might fight in like July, August, I'm guessing, and then maybe can also fight at the end of the year. So that belt is going to get fought for like twice or 3 times this year. And I think Merab Dvalishvili has the highest chance of ending the year as champ, considerably higher than everybody else. He has the strongest grappling style, he has the highest pace. He could be as like ugly in the stand-up as he wants because it's hard for anybody to get past that takedown threat. He's like prime Colby on crack. His pace is absolutely absurd. He's tough, he's able to come back even getting hurt like he did against Marlon Moraes, and he's getting better every time we see him, which is the scariest part. So I think Merab Dvalishvili is the number 1 choice to end the year as champ. And the number 2, I would actually pick Corey Sandhagen for the fact that he's probably the most well-rounded guy at the highest level. He's one of the best strikers, very intelligent game plans. He has a very good wrestling game, especially offensively. The only thing I'm wondering is where his submission defense is, because sometimes, even still, he does leave himself open and get his back taken sometimes, so that's the only thing, but I do hold Sandhagen at the number 2 spot. Number 3, I have Sean O'Malley. O'Malley's probably the best striker, but there is someone like Sandhagen that can test him there. He has a developing takedown defense game, he has good footwork, and can snipe literally anybody that he fights against. I would have Cejudo on number 4. He would be higher if he was younger. He's the oldest guy in the title picture. He has a fantastic wrestling game, decent striking technique overall. He's just so small compared to the others, and it just puts him at such a big disadvantage. And then Chito I have at number 5, for obvious reasons. Now, he has a lot of power, he is patient, he has the best defense out of all these guys, but his wrestling defense is not there. His pace is the slowest of the bunch, and he just lets fights get away from him. Then we go to the flyweight division. The champion is Alexandre Pantoja, and he's already defeated some of the top guys in this weight class multiple times. 3 wins over Moreno, 2 wins over Royval, and that takes out a lot of the risk of him losing that belt. He already beat the top guys. And I think out of every single champion right now, Pantoja has the lowest chance of losing the belt. It's the flyweight division, so it's hard for anybody to catch that big knockout, and Pantoja also has an iron chin. He has the best ground game. He has enough power in the stand-up to hurt anybody that goes back and forth with him there. The only thing that goes against Pantoja is that sometimes he slows down, but I do hold him at the number 1 spot. Number 2, I have Albazi, mainly for the fact that Moreno's not going to fight Pantoja this year. Most likely, he will never fight him again. And if Moreno's not going to fight him again, then Albazi, who's going up against Moreno, who has a chance to fight for the belt this year, him and Moreno are the only 2 other guys in the title picture, especially now with the fact that Manel kept missed weight and that fight with Nicolau didn't happen. Pantoja's most likely going to defend his belt twice this year. If Albazi does not beat Moreno, anybody else could be in the title picture. Then we go to the women's bantamweight division, and this one's quite competitive now due to Nunes retiring. With her stepping off the throne, all these other fighters could just go to war with each other to get that belt, and I think the belt is going to exchange hands for a number of years. But right now, the champ is Raquel Pennington. She's very tough. She has an okay enough skill set everywhere to kind of hold her own for a while, even against someone like Silva, who has a pretty nasty Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, she was able to survive long enough. And I think she could do that against pretty much anybody else in this weight class. So I do hold her at the number 1 spot even still. Number 2, I have Juliana Pena, but she is much older. That's the main reason why I don't have her at number 1. She's also tough just like Pennington, but it could be a little bit too chaotic in the stand-up to beat someone like Pennington through that. Maybe the wrestling could get her the win though. Also tied with Pena, I have Irina Aldana. Irina Aldana is not the grappler that Pena is, but she has a much better striking game, and she already fought Pennington before in a very, very close split decision loss, and that was like 4.5 years ago. She has gotten much better, has a lot more experience now. She's one of the most powerful punchers. She's one of the best boxers. She's very big for the weight class. I think she has a pretty good shot as well. Then tied with them two is also Kayla Harrison. I'm only going to hold her at 20% for now, merely for the fact that she's never made 135 before. Now, we are hearing that she made test cuts. So she tested that weight cut to 135 and she made it already. I got to see it happen on the big scales because the pressure that goes into those kind of fights with that kind of weight cut can change things up a bit. So I think Harrison has a good style to win that belt. I don't know how her strength and chin are going to change from that weight cut. So a lot of it's up in the air. Right now, I'm also going to hold her at the same level as Pena and Aldana. And then in 5th place, because she did hint at it, Amanda Nunes. That 10% is all about her coming back to the sport. I'm giving her a 10% chance of coming back to the sport because if she comes back, she's winning that belt. There's nobody beating her. Then we go to the women's flyweight division. The champion right now is Alexa Grasso, and she seemingly has this endless rivalry with Valentina Shevchenko, so we know that's going to be another title defense for her this year, while also Blanchfield and Fiorot are going to fight each other to determine who the number 1 contender is. So we're probably going to see that belt get fought for twice. Grasso versus Shevchenko to finally end that rivalry, and then the winner of that fights the winner of Blanchfield and Fiorot, which leaves those 4 fighters in the title picture. I have Grasso at number 1, slightly above Shevchenko for the fact that Shevchenko's so much older now. She's only getting older with this rivalry, and Grasso's only getting better, which leads me to believe that Grasso is going to beat Shevchenko. And then she's going to have to go up against Blanchfield or Fiorot, which is a very difficult fight for her, I think. So they're all relatively pretty close to each other, which is great for the flyweight division to be that competitive. And finally, we go to the strawweight division, and this one's really easy. The champion is Zhang Weili, the most dominant champ right now, the most dominant women's fighter right now. There's nobody on her level. Maybe there is one. And she's going to fight Yan Xiaonan next at UFC 300, so she's most likely going to defend her belt one more time afterward. And that fighter is most likely going to be against Tatiana Suarez. Those are the 3 fighters in the title picture right now. Suarez and Xiaonan. She should absolutely run through Xiaonan. And I think the tougher fight is going to be with Suarez. Therefore, I have Zhang Weili at the number 1 spot. Number 2, I have Tatiana Suarez. And number 3, I have Yan Xiaonan. Suarez has the best wrestling game out of probably any women's MMA fighter in the UFC. She's strong, she's big for the weight class. She has that one skill that could prove quite troublesome for Zhang Weili, and probably the only fighter right now that has that sort of thing for her. And if Weili beats both Xiaonan and Suarez, she's cleaned out her division. There's nobody left. And then just go up to the flyweight division. So those are my predictions for the champions at the end of the year, from heavyweight all the way down to the strawweight division. And I wonder when they're going to include the atomweight division. I think women's bantamweight is really scarce with talent right now. And if they focus on an atomweight division instead, you'll see a lot better fighters, a lot more talent. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, make sure to give this a like, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to get your teeth cleaned every 6 months.